So, if acupuncture is about bridging the mind body, the psychosomatic experiencing, and seeing where functionally there is difficulty, bringing awareness to that and helping it rest and release, then two questions emerge. One is, how can a layperson start to use these concepts to work within their own experiencing? And two, what about the material, the densities that are unable to be released? First, the layperson can start to see there are many maps to experiencing as someone with a body, with functionality, with structure. The structure aspects are relatively straightforward. There's the skin, there's the fascia, the muscles, the blood vessels, the nerves, the bones, all with their own properties. Functionality gets a little bit more interesting. What are maps that we can overlay upon the body that helps us understand at our moment to moment what feels good, what helps us feel aligned? How do I know when we're unaligned? The map that I find most helpful here comes from Tibetan Buddhism, and that is the idea of a central channel. It can also be Taoism and some overlay of the two. The central channel, everyone has one. If you are a being, you have a central channel. And it is simply the feeling of alignment. How does this map structurally? Well, the tip of the head we call Du-20, or Bai Hui, is a point, and the tip of the tailbone is another point, Du-1, or I forget the pinyin name. So this follows the spinal endpoints, energetic spinal endpoints in this case. And we can start to just feel that container. We've developed parameters for attention, and we can play with the breath as it helps release anything that is open to being released here. From the tip of the head to the bottom of the tailbone, breathing in, breathing out, not trying to change anything, just breathing in, knowing that there's a central channel alignment here. Good, so that's one way of looking, right? Trying to develop these ways of experiencing. Other Qigong practices may extend that channel all the way up into the sky, into the center of the universe, and the very tip of the tailbone all the way down to the core of the earth, and just feeling for that moment alignment. What it feels like to breathe into this functional alignment. Not trying to change anything, perhaps even resting into this structure. When I say structure, I'm referring to the structure of this functional map, not the structure of the body. There are, of course, other maps that are very helpful, like the 3 Dantians, which I can talk about another time. The chakra system I tend not to use as much because I can't keep track of 7 individual things, but 3 I can. Also, the Cartesian coordinate system and the spherical coordinate system. These things are all helpful, intuitive, or in other words, easily accessible ways to map experience. And start to feel, oh, this general direction feels tense. Let me just breathe into the two endpoints that I can parametrically say, just arbitrarily consider. For instance, if I feel my shoulders are really far forward, I'm not going to try to just bring them back. I'm just going to notice these 2 points and then breathe into that. And feel for the natural alignment of these 2 being related to one another and also related to the central channel. Cool. So this is what Qigong really helps with. Helps to bring attention and habituation to relating to the mind-body in this way. As both diagnosis and therapeutic relating. Pair this with parts work and you get something really interesting, right? This, for whatever reason, my shoulders are really forward, breathing into this map here, this kind of rectangular prism. Okay, I'm noticing there's a part at the base of my neck that's preventing me from really going back. Okay, well, now we can employ moving from the psyche. Parts work helps us bridge the mind and the body together. So now I can start asking this part, what do you need? What's it like to be you? And listening and just building understanding while honoring what that part does not want to talk about. And I'm not trying to change anything, just like how I would want to be to a good friend. I'm just there to listen, to be with, to help foster understanding for the part and the listener. Now, coming back, we talked about maps of a functional body that a layperson can use. In Chinese medicine, we have more intricate maps that help really get detail with what it is the body can functionally remember, reorient to. The practitioner utilizes several diagnostic measurements. Measurements I use loosely here, like the pulse, like the tongue, like the 10 questions, like observing. And you start to build a surface area of a person to understand, oh, this is where functionally they are struggling, and this is how it maps onto the, say, the primary channels. This is where it looks within the primary channels, where the blockage is, and what can help. Of course, I'm speaking as one practitioner, and I'm speaking for one causative factor, that is the psychosomatic causative factors related to emotions, which I won't get into right now. Let's talk about the second thing here, which is what happens when there is an object of experience that does not want to release. That this part, for instance, just remains steady in its conviction to be there and perform its duties, responsibilities, play out like this. Well, in this case, we can look at two things. One is, of course, building understanding, really building a relationship with this part to see what its duties are. And now that I understand, I can help to perform those duties, so it's not taxing just that one area. The example here could be needing to be on the computer to make money, and this is how my posture just consistently looks: shoulder forward, head down, on the computer. Well, now that I've built the understanding of this part, that it's performing a function for my survival, then I can start to find other ways I can feel like I am being okay living here. What are other ways I can feel like I am not just surviving but thriving, as the old adage goes. The other thing that we can do is see it as a core empowerment, that this aspect of this person is none other than their unique awake expressing, that their path is to understand this density of functionality within themselves as a way to foster a deeper understanding of their own path of deepening understanding of themselves. And we can kind of see how these two relate to each other. Building understanding. How do we build understanding and honor boundaries? That is the question, the container that the mind-body works with, that acupuncture brings awareness to. So, to more clearly answer, what do we do when there is something that really feels stuck? We don't try to change it. Trying to change it only fosters the sense that it's not enough. We work within its own understandings of itself by asking questions to it, and also from our own view of it, not seeing it as something that needs to change, but seeing it instead as something that helps foster a deeper understanding of the person who's with it. And this fosters their own path towards that central channel alignment. The practitioner's duty isn't to change the patient, it is to be with the patient as they experience their own changing. Now, of course, there are ways to resource this, to resource ourselves, to feel like we can be with something without trying to change it. And the ultimate resource always is the view, the Dzogchen view, that nothing is a thing, that everything is awareness, is none other than awareness expressing itself. Michael Taft does a lot of great explanations of what this means. It doesn't mean that nothing exists, and it doesn't mean that everything is always one. It means that there are expressions of source, and there is source, and those two are actually the same thing, and we can be with both. We can be with the experience of all oneness, and we can be with the experience of all differentiation. That view, that alignment of the central channel, that being in the flow of things, all synonyms for the most helpful resource that I found, which is flow itself. Now, experience is devoted to experience. It wants to have experience, not to just get stuck in some grayish blob of nothingness. And so naturally, these densities emerge. That's just part of the path, part of experiencing. So the other part of this resourcing then is how do we build relationships with these densities? And one such way to build a relationship is to empower these densities, to see them as core empowerments to foster deeper understanding of oneself and their relationship to the world. A good example of this is I ruptured my Achilles 2019, and it remains a persistent density in my psychosomatic experience, but it also serves as a core empowerment to remember each step. Remember that there is a body you're experiencing. It is a core empowerment of remembering. And so I am able to live with it and work with my best approximation of source with that very material, while it is expressing its own densities, its own solidities within the mind-body. And we can see how this can be touched upon from both the psyche and the soma. That we can build a relationship from both sides. What are other ways to resource? Well, the both sides aspect of this. The soma, resting, doing sports. The psyche, hanging out with friends, doing things that are repetitive mind practices to kind of build momentum, build traction. That is what resourcing is. It's to build traction, to build this natural sense of confidence and capability that is always there. It's simply a remembering of that. So, how Chinese medicine plays a role in resourcing from these two angles is we use points. We use the relationship of points to the structure and the function of the body. Points become like parts to us. We build relationships to them within ourselves and others to hear what they have to say and how they are here to help resource somebody and their experiencing, to provide relief and release to their best approximation. There is one of my favorite points, stomach 36, that is right below the head of the tibia, and that point helps really bring energy back into the center and feel this sense of circulation and rest. It's a great point. It's the earth point on the earth channel. And as I'm saying this, these models, these maps of function and structure are being overlaid over my understanding of my experience. So I'm building a relationship with this area of my body through this single point. And I'm listening. What does it have to tell me today? How it can help? What can it offer to its best approximation of openness? And points are just one aspect of it. Points exist along channels and have relationships to one another. So we can really get detailed here about building relationships and suggest through the needle to the patient or whoever we are working with what would it be like if you were to try on this part, this intention, this somatic response? Ooh, that built some traction. That feels pretty good. Now maybe I can re-engage with this difficult, tense thing